All right, there we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Area 51 Superspeedway Series here tonight at Talladega. Qualifying going on at the moment. As you can see, track temperature 66 degrees, ambient 72 track, and it's going to be 75 laps is going to be the race distance tonight. Say drivers making their qualifying laps at the moment. So right now, joining me in the booth, I've got my partner in crime that normally on the Thursday series driving that number 94 car, but grab you at least able to get you up here in the booth with me tonight is Dale Knott. So Dale, as always, pleasure to have you here. And we're back to Talladega, and that third lane we saw it in practice. Drivers definitely putting it to good use. I think that's going to be something that we'll definitely get see at portions during tonight's race.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited to see that in practice back on a little bit wider racetrack. To see him, trying the third lane and guys being able to make moves up top there and get by other cars. I'm hoping that we see it a little earlier in the race than we normally would because of that.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting to see how it's all going to pan out. So we'll go ahead and pull up our standings for tonight, coming into tonight's event. So you see Raymond Rittenauer with the points lead here by 9 over Gabe Butler. Gabe's had really solid results, top fives in all three of his starts. However, he does not have that win that he's looking for as of yet. And as you see, Raymond Rittenauer there has the one win of the season. And you got Dale Willoughby there in third, Eric Laurie fourth, Matt Quick rounds out our top five. Then you got 6th through 10th. You've got Todd Siebels, Kevin Fries, Jim Brooks, Todd Merkel, Quabi Brooks. One of those drivers you don't see in the top there that does have that win is that number, the number, oh, I can't remember his number now, of Kevin Hash. I'm trying to find his car number and I can't find it for the life of me now, and I feel bad.
03.
03. I was going to say 3, and I was like, no, that's Bobby. So yeah, you're right. So yeah, Kevin Hash in the 03 car. He's all the way down right now in the 24th position in points. However, he does have that win, so I feel like he should still be pretty safe to get into the Final Four playoff race with our top 8 drivers in points. Another one of those drivers with the win a little bit further down is Kevin Fries in 7th. However, I suspect we'll see Kevin work his way back up into that top group as well here. Alright, so while we finish up qualifying, Jack, it's good to see you on here. Sorry you aren't able to make the race. Definitely will be missing you this evening. I'm going to say, yeah, I know there's been a lot of storms out on the East Coast lately, so hopefully everything's at least safe and everything's good there. Look forward to seeing you back on track as soon as you're able to get power back to your building.
Hey, you talk about, Jack not being here, being like a super competitive driver in this league too. So, it will not go unnoticed to the other cars on the track that he's absent today.
Yeah, and that's going to be a tough one for some of the guys that, we kind of talk about kind of competing against the Bootknocker team, I say, because those guys, you need anybody and everybody you can to really have a chance against them, because they kind of just work out basically as a well-oiled machine with one another. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one, I think, for that. So that being said, though, I think qualifying has just completed, so we'll go ahead and pull up our starting grid for tonight. Let's go ahead and get up here. So our starting lineup is going to be, we just mentioned that number 5, Kevin Fries, missing a race a little bit farther back in points. Not too bad by any means, though. He's going to get that pole position. Next to him is Raymond Rittenauer. Dale will be 3rd, Todd Merkel in the 4th position. Then you got Kevin Hash, Gabe Butler, Dean Wilkinson, Nick Manfredi, Charles Johnson, Jay Hilliard rounding in our top 10. 11th and 12th, you've got Robert DuPont and Bud Steele. We'll jump back to 13th, and that's going to be Eric Laurie. Then you got Bobby Hash, Michael Spell, Alberto Lopez, John Brill, Danny J, Joseph Morales, Dude Conrad, and then Jim Brooks, Quabi Brooks, Donnie Lyons, and Todd Siebels in 24th. And I believe the last 2 cars on the grid are going to be the 420 of Dave Thatcher, and the 26 will be the 89 of Matt Quick. Alright, so we'll wait for everybody to finish joining in the server here. So it's going to be kind of I feel like we'll have multiple strategies tonight. We've seen a lot of drivers, they'd like to be up front, kind of control the race early on. Other drivers just kind of cruise in the back, save maybe a little bit of fuel, see if that'll get them to maybe make a little bit of a strategy call, maybe get that shorter last pit stop, or if they can really save aggressively, which I'm skeptical about, but we've seen crazier things happen. maybe have a chance for some of these drivers to make a two pit stop race here tonight. Because usually that field one that we've talked about before, Dale, is usually right in the low 20 numbers. But we have seen drivers really try to pull that number a few times. I'll say one of those drivers we talk about week in and week out is that 89 of Matt Quick, who's always able to do a really good job on that field numbers. But that being said, I don't see him gridded here, as I believe the field's just about to get rolling. So I'll say he might be in a bit of a tight spot like he was last week. It looks like the 8 of Duke Conrad might be in a similar position there as well.
Yeah, we always talk about Matt Quick being the fuel master, but Dale Willoughby in that 7 Michelob Ultra machine was right there with him last week. They pretty much was pitting together. Dale was just able to save a ton of fuel as well. Starting in a great position here right behind Kevin Freeze.
Kevin picking on his teammate Raymond there a little bit on the start.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. He's kind of in a little Kevin sandwich here, and then he's got Ray on the outside. So I imagine real early we're going to see Ray drop down probably between the 5 and the 7, and then that'll be big news for the rest of the field, as they're going to have to try to break those drivers up.
Yeah, exactly right. So I was saying that's going to be the critical thing. Is I say the one thing that say some of you guys might have a little bit of a chance of is this initial start. It is on the initial green flag, so. Like Kevin can't orchestrate the start really with Raymond or with Dale or anybody there in that top 3. So it gives a better opportunity, because right now, like for instance, if you're Todd Merkel in that 4th position, that 2 car, you love qualifying up front here, but you of course also are hoping that, hey, I hope I get a little bit of help from some of these guys around me. But when you see you've got 5 teammates kind of surrounding you, you know you're going to be in a tough position there. But I think with this restart this initial start, I should say, being on the green flag, I think that'll give him a little bit of a better chance to maybe kind of get lined up with these guys and kind of keep that momentum going before we get it fully up to speed here down back.
Looking back here at the starting order and noticing you got the 45 of Todd Siebels, the 53 of Quabi Brooks, and then just a car ahead of Quabi is at 20 of Alberto Lopez. I kind of expect those 3 drivers to hook up. Quabi, it kind of goes either way on how aggressive he's going to be early on, but if he's feeling it tonight, I really expect to see those guys coming on the top side.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what kind of strategy they pull. It seemed like last time they were going for the more on the fuel save side, so we'll see if any aggression picks up tonight. As you see, it looks like pace car is off, so we're going to hand it over to our race leader in that number 5 machine of Kevin Freeze. And he's going to wait for that green flag to fly, and it is down and away, and we are underway here. 75 laps here at Talladega.
Ray Rittenhour on the top side really got the jump on that start, but the bottom line is going to prevail coming off into 1.
Yeah, and that's just like we talked about. And you got the shorter distance while you're still building speed in these cars. It's going to take a little while for them to get kind of completely wound up and for that momentum on the top side to really take effect here. And so it's going to really be all about that draft right off the bat there. And you can see, I mean, Todd Merkel really getting pretty much locked onto the 87 quickly here, as is 7 to the 5. So right now, pretty even down the backstretch. You can see the 87 pretty much holding steady here with the 5 of Kevin Freeze as they go into turn 3 and 4 for the first time.
You watch enough, we've been doing this for a little while now. You watch enough of these races, and if I'm Todd Merkel, and this is a series veteran, by the way, I'm kind of apprehensive about pushing Raymond Rittenhour up there in front of the 5, because I don't think he's going to get a lot of help behind him out of that 1 car once Ray gets out of his way.
Yeah, it's a good point. You can see a few cars making pretty big moves there. Get to the inside as possible. A little bit of almost a moment there as well. So Alberto Lopez was able to sneak just in front of Eric Laurie, but Eric, I think, had to react to that and had to wiggle up a little bit to make sure to avoid that contact. And so that's kind of got him pinned in the middle here between the 15 of Danny J and the 88 there, but Michael Spell. Michael goes ahead and kind of rolls out of it there to let him in line there. As you can see right now, the 15 just pretty much running the top side here, kind of on his own. As I say, he's actually getting a little. I think he may have just touched the wall there, running the very, very top line, so he's able to collect it up. But I'll say definitely a bit of I'm sure, an attention catcher there for that 15.
Yeah, it looked like Todd in that 45 was going to go up there and try to push him up in line a little bit, but not sure the 45 the 15 just wanting to roll to the back or what's going on. But it kind of thwarted Todd Siebel's plans a little bit.
Yeah, so now looking out the back of Kevin Freeze, let's say out front, he's liking what he sees. Let's say nothing but clean track in front of him. But here's that momentum we talked about down the backstretch. You see how big of a push Raymond Rittenauer is able to get from Todd Merkel here. And Ray might just be able to clear, and it looks like he will. You see his moves down to the inside, so move Raymond as the leader of the race and leader of the inside line. Now it's going to be the question, like you said, Dale, what does the one do here if you're Gabe Butler? Do you work with this two? Do you try to push him up? Because that might give yourself a chance to get pushed to the front as well. So I'll have to kind of keep an eye and see what the strategy is going to be with these two on that top side now.
Yeah, and there could be, there could be a little fuel saving advantage too if the two gets out front, leads a couple laps. Help the 87, the 5, the 7, the 03 save quite a bit of fuel actually by doing this.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'd say right now, really the driver that's probably been burning the most fuel is the 87 Raymond Rittenauer, leading the top side, now leading the inside line. So he's had to have his foot to the floor this entire time, where some of these drivers a little further back here have been able to just kind of roll out of the throttle. That draft, obviously kind of the great equalizer with these cars in this track. So right now they're doing a really good job kind of holding steady. And one thing I'm watching right now that's kind of keeping a nice little gap in front of him is this 55 of Dean Wilkinson. Say Dean's in that orange car there in the Ford Mustang here on the inside line. And I think he's kind of in a really good spot here where he's just in that nice little bubble basically. I'm watching him. I think he's probably in one of those positions right now where he's just able to really kind of max fuel save from that starting position.
Yeah, and he's got to be communicating with guys, like Charles Johnson, they're behind him. Alberto's back behind Charles Johnson a little ways. Like, I'd be communicating with those guys and say, hey, let's just roll around here on the bottom, save a bunch of fuel, and then once the leaders have to start pitting, we'll really hammer down and pick up a lot of time that way.
Yeah, exactly right. And we were wondering about what would happen for the two car if he was able to get to the lead of the top side. And Gabe Butler did give him a nice push there, and he's able to clear himself to the front in front of Raymond Rittenauer. So now you see Gabe's going to be leading that top side. He's got that 29 of Nick Manfredi behind him, and in the 59 is the third car on that top side of Jay Hilliard. So right now at the line, I believe the two car just going to get the nose ahead. He'll grab that lap lead bonus point, always crucial for these guys we've seen week in and week out. And I do see the top line is really starting to form here, Dale. I see a lot of drivers starting to work their way to the top, wanting to start kind of pull that momentum around and see if they can make something happen up here.
Yeah, nobody willing to go three wide yet, but I see Charles Johnson in the outside lane now, and he's always my vote for the first car to go three wide. Him and the 55 as
there
they
it
move
is.
up.
I think he heard you, because as soon as you said that, they said, yep, let's do it. Let's make this third line happen. So yeah, you're right. It's going to be Dean Wilkinson leading that top group with the 9 of Charles Johnson behind him. And saying these are guys, I mean, they run with each other week in, week out. They're very comfortable. You see Michael Spell, he sees it going as well. He's going to jump to the top. And also you see Bud Steele, he's going to follow suit as well in the 6 car. Pretty much once one of them saw it happen, they all wanted to be the one to lead that top group. And so right now it's going to be Bud Steele in the 6 machine going to try to lead these guys on the top line into turn number 1. You can see now 3 wide here for the lead on lap number 7.
Yeah, real tight between the 90 of John Brew and the 9 of Charles Johnson. Being stuck in that middle line is probably the worst place to be. One, it looks like the 7 of Dale Willoughby out of line.
Yeah, so I think it's Dale Willoughby noping out of that one. He's like, yeah, I'm not ready for this 3 wide action. Yeah, I'm gonna wait a little bit longer here. So he's going to try to roll to the back of the draft. You can see drivers kind of moving up, giving him room. You see the 53 and the 15 moving up a lane just to try to let him get in safely, because it's really risky at times. You might lose the draft when you do that, but luckily he was able to make that work. So he's going to still be in a good spot here. And I think that's why exactly you see these guys like the 53 and the 51. We talked about maybe we see them push to the front, but they've decided to stay a little bit more comfortable. But we got a great fight up here as they go 3 by 3 here to complete lap number 8.
Yeah, Bud Steele leading that top line. Michael Spell to the 55 and a 9 back there. I expected to see the 45 go up there. He's usually pretty aggressive. 20's making his move up top now. But Todd's just kind of riding around there in front of Quabi in the bottom. Not normally what I expect to see out of him. So maybe he's learned something in the last couple of races.
Yeah, so it's just, I think for a lot of these guys too, I think it's just at that point of the race too. They're saying, you know what, we're really early here. Let's let this settle in a little bit, and then I think that's when you might see a little bit of some moves. But I'm actually looking at, so watching the cars go by, I noticed the 20 of Alberto Lopez. If I'm not mistaken, it looks like that rear end's a little bit center punched. So someone may have gotten a bit of a big push on the back of that 20 car, a little harder than they intended to. Is that back end looks a little dented in, so somewhere on the track there's probably going to be a car with the nose also a little bit dented in, and that's going to be very crucial for those guys to try to make sure that their temps are okay. We know how important nose damages is with these cars. And you see Gabe Butler, he's doing the same thing. Raymond Rittenauer, they're both all rolling out of it here.
That's I kind of expected to see Kevin Freeze and Kevin Hash do the same thing, but they stay in line.
Yeah, so again, that's where they got to be careful here, try to merge back on the track. So that's the thing I said, is it's just going to slow the pace down. You can see, but the thing is, Gabe's actually able to run the apron here with still pretty good speed here. As you can see, the rest of the field now starting to move up to try to give a little bit of room, so it's going to really spread this field out a little bit here. So you're right, though. I think these guys are kind of opting to take it a little bit easier right off the bat there. As you see now, Dean Wilkinson, he's going to drop to the bottom with Charles Johnson. As I was mentioning in front of Michael Spell, starting to eat the names all in one shot there. And now you see actually Charles is going to run the inside. I think probably Charles getting a little hot there, and I think that's Dean kind of doing him a favor there and rolling to the top to get some temps down on that 9 car.
Yeah, and we saw that in practice too. These cars get, hot very, very quickly, and they don't get a whole lot of warning before the motor decides, that it's had enough. We saw a few cars in practice blow the motors.
Yeah, it's also a little bit of damage to the rear of the 59 as well of Jay Hilliard. I can also see a little bit more to the right rear of his car. There's been a couple instances where we've seen some contact between cars at some point or another. Not enough to bring out a caution, but yeah, definitely some rear end damage for both now the 59 and the 20. Haven't been able to find the car up front though that may have some nose damage though. So. But right now, though, so you can see just kind of a little bit of a change up front, though, with the drafting, the aggression early on. I think some of those guys towards the front early on said, you know what, let's roll back here. We want to make sure we can get to the end of this race. And of course, as we always talk about, too, the pit stop's kind of the great equalizer there, as Charles Johnson just squeezes in a gap there between himself and that number 29 of Nick Manfredi.
Yeah, if you would have told me that, 11, 12 laps in, we'd pretty much be single file here, I wouldn't have believed it. So really surprised out of what I'm seeing. I think it's exactly how you put it earlier. Like, guys saw some things they didn't like, decided to back out and play the safe route.
Yeah, so you're going to still have a few guys, I think, that are want to make some moves. And I'm saying right off the bat, there you see the 59 Jay Hilliard. He's going to jump to the top there. Just not enough help as of yet. You can see he's got John Brill behind him, but a distance away. And I saw John was trying to see if he could squeeze to the inside. Now finally able to find a hole in there right in front of Dean Wilkinson. But here comes Todd Seedles. You mentioned expecting him to work the top side. Looks like he's waited for things to settle in a little bit. Now he's going to make his move here. But the problem for Todd, though, is just no help right now. He's kind of the solo man right now up in that middle groove.
Yeah, he's not saving any fuel, in the worst shape of the fuel save out of anybody on the racetrack right now, in my opinion. One thing I am noticing, though, is he's not really falling back. Is getting a little help, though, the 20 and the 55s with him now. Yeah,
so I think as soon as they saw some other drivers start to move around, say that the interest really picked up again. It's kind of like we saw with that third line. So we saw the 55 said, yeah, let's do it. You see the 20, he decided to go as well. So you saw it looked like Michael Spell was going to maybe try to lead that group. But then you can see that he found an opening there with those guys, had a huge run as well. So he opted to go back to the inside line before that closed off. So kind of avoided a potential 3 wide there. So that's going to be Alberto Lopez in the 20 car getting a really good push from that 45 of Todd Seedles here, trying to see if he can take the point.
2.5 seconds from Bud Steele to Joseph Morales. I mean, that seems like a long way, but this is one of the tighter fields we've had here as far as in single file racing.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it is single file for the most part. I'd say pretty much the top 10 or so are all doubled up now. You see that 20 Alberto Lopez, he did get to the front, he got to the inside line. And it looks like he will complete the pass here to get the lead this time around, just barely over that number 45, Todd Seedles. And now Todd's going to get that nice push from the top from that 59 of Jay Hilliard, like we had mentioned a little bit earlier about him. And then you say you got the 55, the 90 there. So they're 4 cars strong here, and they're actually drafting very well right now. They're staying pretty locked on together. You don't see a lot of movement between them side to side. And we've seen those little things make a big difference in the plate races here.
And one thing they can really do, and I'm going to say it, and it's obviously not going to happen now, but if those 4 cars stay linked up on the top side, you can really change how this field has to run. You get 4 fast guys together, and you gain so much momentum coming off the turns, on the outside lane, that you can kind of force everybody behind you to run up there as well.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, we see that obviously in NASCAR. Let's say usually it'd be if you saw like Dale Jr. or something like that, he'd be running the top group and everybody would follow suit. And then if you tried to run the top line, you couldn't do anything unless you got enough people to commit with you. So you see Todd Siegel, he got the lap he wanted to lead, and then he's going to roll right back now. I think he's, like you talked about, Dale, I think him having to run those couple laps on his own there, I think he's going to go back and try to kind of recover some of that fuel savings that he may have had to burn there.
Yeah, and if he does decide to roll the back, it looks like he's kind of staying steady, but you can save a lot of fuel just easing off the throttle and rolling to the rear, you know, kind of get your fuel mileage back where you need it to be.
Yeah, so the next step, of course, is going to be those pit stops, which at the moment has that green flag look to it, which I'd say we're very used to seeing here with the Area 51 Superspeedway guys. But now the question, of course, is going to be when that pit stop strategy is going to happen. We've seen a mix of strategies. I've seen some drivers, they kind of try to split it evenly, like we might see them at like 20, 40, and 60, give them a little bit of buffer to get to that end in case we get those potential of the green light finishes. We've also seen drivers maybe pit early in this first stint, and then we also, of course, have drivers that run the first two stints as long as possible, just to have the shortest pit stop, I should say, at the very end. So, yeah, a lot of potentials here for what the strategy is going to be, but what I'm seeing right now with as strung out as things are here, that's going to be kind of an advantage right now too if you're a Dean Wilkinson or Jay Hillier, John Brill. Well, pending John being able to get to the inside before pit stops happen, of course, because like you said, it's about a 2-second difference from the front to the back here. So, I mean, if they pit like they are single filed like this, I mean, it's just going to make you basically, you're going to be entering the pits with about a 2-second deficit. So that's where there's a little bit of strategy of when to make that push to get to the front before pit stops happen.
Yeah, and that's it's driver dependent, really. You know, these guys are watching their fuel numbers, or watching what's going on around them, and trying to make those types. You know, when am I going to push up front? When am I going to pit and all that? And hopefully for these, you know, guys who may not necessarily be part of a race team, hopefully they're communicating with the guys around them to try to get some help on pit lane.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's the thing is, I mean, at tracks like this, you need help. You need friends or teammates, whatever it may be. And we've seen, I mean, we were chatting with some of the drivers before the race, and we were noticing that it's almost like just two really big groups on Discord where the drivers can kind of chat with each other privately. Before we would sometimes see about 3 or 4 different group chats, but say it's almost singled up now into just like 2 main groups. So yeah, so it's like, I think that's also going to change things a little bit too, where maybe some drivers that are going to kind of unofficially partnering with one another, that maybe drivers they're not familiar with as often. And of course, we've seen before too, where I mean, again, it's not unknown that the guys like Kevin Freese, Kevin Hash, and Eric Laurie and company, they're the ones to beat usually at these types of races. So we've seen drivers also either try to pit with them or just react to them instantly, and as soon as they pit that next time around. So I think that's also kind of ramped up the difficulty and just kind of the strategies this calls in some of these races as well.
Yeah, and they're coming around to where, you know, to get in that first pit stop window very quickly. Like you said, about lap 20 if you want to split it in thirds. Maybe if you're lucky, you can go as far as 23 or 24 laps. So coming around on lap 19 now, everything's going to start happening very shortly.
Yeah, you're right. Say we're starting lap 19 now, like you said. So if there are drivers that want to aim for that lap 20 mark, we could see takers this time around. Again, I mean, this, if you were splitting it exactly even for 75 on 3 stops, they probably would already be coming in a lap or so ago. But again, there's always that potential for like green, white, checkered finish. So a lot of drivers, they want to make sure they have a little bit of buffer in the tank to make sure they can get to the end. So we'll kind of keep an eye here as they come out of 4. We'll see if anybody's going to take. And yep, here comes a few. And it's going to start off with that number 5, it looks like, of Kevin Freese. And he's going to bring a lot of cars in with him. You can see, but they've all done a pretty good job staggering. Saw one car catch the wall. I think that it's the 15, and Danny J kind of gets pinned up against the wall here. So he's going to, unfortunately, that's definitely going to cost him the draft. So now it's going to be all about these guys, though. They just got to make sure that they nail their pit stalls here and make sure they're all in the same strategy for tires and fuel.
Yeah, and this really is the toughest part. You know, you slide through your box. It's going to cost you just a ton of time versus everybody around you.
Yeah, so you can see the top 3 looks like they get out pretty well together there. Looks like Kevin Hash is going to win the race out there. I did see Bobby Hash. I think he may have had to just drive through the pits. Not sure if he missed the stall or not. So we'll see now. We're going to jump back to our lead pack because, yep, here they come. Here's the reaction. And we're going to have pretty much everybody else in this second group. This is where things can get very dicey on the pit road entry here. It looks like as a whole, these guys did a pretty good job, but now everybody's got to try to figure out where their pit stalls are. And so you can see with iRacing, of course, when you're in your pit box, you can kind of drive through cars there. So you'll see a few cars kind of driving through to avoid that contact. As I say that, you see there right there, the 07 and the 29, they make contact, unfortunately, with one another. And that's going to put John Brill now on his own, unfortunately, though. But he is going to be shown as our race leader here. So he's going to get a lap lead. That's always a perk for him. But he is also going to pick up the back of the 79 car, I'm sorry, Donnie Lyons. So he's going to steal a little bit of draft here, but I expect to see John Brill come this time to complete our pit stop cycle.
Yeah, really spread this field out. But not a ton of mistakes, but enough mistakes that it's really going to cost a couple drivers big. But what I do notice here is Kevin Freeze, Kevin Hash, Dale Willoughby, and Eric Laurie grouped up and just hauling the mail already.
Yeah, it was a great pit stop, though, for Dean Wilkinson. He's the first of the second group that pitted to come out. And he's starting to get lined up here. He's got help behind him pretty quickly here. You've got Jay Hilliard there with Alberto Lopez, Todd Siebels, Charles Johnson. And you can see, or starting to you see right there, Todd Siebels trying to jump to the top side, see if he can make them push him. But yeah, I say when he had that much momentum, I don't think there was anywhere that Kevin Hash was going to be going but to the front there. He's just going to kind of change lanes to that third lane, so you're going to have those four now try to take the point here, and that's going to be Kevin Hash leading that group with Kevin Freeze, and then you've got the 701 Dave Willoughby and then the 071 of Eric Laurie. So say they haven't all completed the pass right now, but at the moment that 03 car is going to show as our race leader out of two.
At a place, you go to Daytona, that move, jumping out in front of them might have worked, but Talladega is just too wide and too fast.
Exactly right. I mean, and say that was Todd Siebels like, hey, let me try it and see what happens. I mean, it's worth the shot. Obviously, he didn't force the issue. He just kind of moved up a little bit, say, hey, all right, let's see if they stay with me or not. And say Kevin Hash made the choice to kind of jump to the top there. So that being said, though, that inside line they've recovered very well here. Dale, you see the 55. He's actually staying side by side with that number 03 car, and at the line you can see just probably maybe a nose ahead for the 03 car there for Kevin Hash. So. Now next up right now, we've got about, it looks like 11 cars in this lead pack. Jim Brooks, Bud Steele, last two in that mix. So that's going to leave a couple cars behind. You see Quabi Brooks and Todd Merkel. They're trying to latch onto one another to see if they can push forward. And then you've got a couple of strong contenders here as well. Gabe Butler, Raymond Rittenauer, they're working with Dave Thatcher. If they can all group up together, maybe get that 5-car draft, that might be able to push them forward as well. So I'll keep an eye on the lap times and see maybe that 2-car and the 53, kind of what their lap times are looking like. Because, I mean, when they're running double file like this, I think we're going to see Quabi Brooks, Todd Merkel catch that group, and then I think we'll also see Dave Thatcher with Gabe and Raymond also make that jump to the lead pack again.
Yeah, and just looking at what I'm seeing already on their lap times, it looks like you're right. But even if they would have been a little slower, you got a couple of the best drafters in the league right behind them. So I don't think all would have been lost for them.
Yeah, I mean, that last time by those 5 drivers I just mentioned, they were over a second a lap quicker. I mean, you can see, the 2 is there already. He's had to roll out of it just to make sure he doesn't run over the 51 of Jim Brooks there. But yeah, they ran a 49, 29, 28 for Quabi. I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, I'm looking through the timing and scoring. I think that 53 car, apologies, I think just put down the fastest lap of the race while chasing those guys back down, working with that 2 car.
Yeah, they were in just a really good position with that. They good help behind them, ton of car in front of them, just throwing a lot of air their way. So, I mean, it was definitely kind of like a wind tunnel of sorts where they were able to make super fast lap times to catch up.
Yeah, exactly right. And so now that group of 11 we talked about now is up to a group of 16 in the lead lap, or in the lead pack here after that pit stop cycle. We mentioned, unfortunately, John Brill went that 1 lap kind of on his own. Unfortunately, that's got him out by himself as well. So right now he's just waiting for some of these other guys to catch up to him to kind of minimize the damage loss for that 90 car. Still sitting in 17th position here. He's going to have Michael Spell coming up behind him shortly. Also got Robert DuPont in that number 07, also to be part of that draft group. And a little further back, we saw the contact between the 29 of Nick Manfredi with another driver. That sends him towards the back as well. And so that's why he's locked on now with Joseph Morales. And we mentioned Bobby Hash, unfortunately, I think had to drive through the pits and either missed his pit stall or was going to maybe make contact with somebody. So he opted to kind of avoid the contact and go another round around the track. And so that's really set him far back here in that number 3 machine.
Yeah, and the field is rapidly catching him, about 2.5 seconds a lap. And I mean, they're right behind him now.
Yeah, so the one thing he does have going for him is just the fact that he'll be the only car 1 lap down in this group. Right now, say the only other driver down is the 07 Robert DuPont, unfortunately, who's 2 laps down at the moment there, but he is in this draft group now with that 90 and the 88. So if you're Bobby Hash, you're not in the worst of spots here. You say these guys are going to come up on you with a pretty good head of steam. Like I said, but you're going to be in that position to be the only car 1 lap down. So if something happens, you'll be in a good position. So we'll say if I'm Bobby here, what I do is I just roll to the back of this draft, make sure I stay in the draft, but roll to the back of this draft group, and then just from there, just go ahead and kind of cruise, save some fuel, and then I think work with your teammates and try to get a better pit stop this time around, and be able to work with Raymond and Gabe and those guys who are also kind of, at the moment at least, kind of sitting at the back of this lead pack.
Here's what I'm most impressed with right now is the 55 of Dean Wilkinson up here leading a lot of laps, and not a guy we normally talk about a whole bunch on the broadcast, but really up here running a heck of a race so far and showing that he's a contender.
Yes, I've been watching Alberto Lopez has been kind of stuck on the top on his own here. He's trying to make that side draft, I think, work a little bit, try to maybe suck up a little bit to the 45 there to try to get to that 3rd spot. And I think the 53 of Quavi Brooks said, you know what, I've been riding long enough, I'm going to try to do something too. So you see the 53, I mean, he's getting some really good speed right now, starting to pick up the toe of that 20 car. I mean, last time by, he was a half a second quicker just running that top side. So I think there's a lot of fuel saving going on in this lead pack here. Nobody really showing what they really have speed-wise. So I think that 53 says, well, all right, if everybody's going to ride here, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to get to this 20 car. We're going to push our way to the front. So we'll hop on board. We'll jump on the roof of that number 20 of Quavi Brooks, and we'll see him lock on, I suspect, with that 20 car, and see if they can make some hay here on that second groove.
Yeah, and this is, you see him, he's as he's approaching the 20, this is where it gets really, really stressful for the pushing driver, as he's pretty much got to hit the 20 car, dead center, where you can see it's already pushed in order to not spin him out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, you can see the momentum already just going straight to the back of that 20 and pushing forward here. And this is also without any tandem drafting, because like you said, I mean, you got to make sure you're completely lined up with that car in front of you, because if you're just off a little bit to the left or to the right, you're just going to hook that car either to the outside wall or to the cars to his inside. So I think right now Quavi opting kind of for a little bit more caution right now behind that 20 car. Just getting to the bumper, but not quite getting locked on to try pushing that 20 as of yet, at least.
Yeah, Todd Siebels is pulling up behind Quavi Brooks on top lane. Yeah, they worked together to get caught up to the field just a couple laps to go, but a little further back, I see Kevin Freeze up there on the top side.
Yeah, and look, more movement up front. You see Dean Wilkinson. He's going to give up the bottom here. Actually, he's going to jump all the way to the top here. So I think he's starting to roll out of it. Maybe thinking, look at the field numbers, maybe thinking, hey, I'm going to need to save a little bit here. So with him doing that, this is going to put Alberto in a very good potential position. Not quite able to clear Jay Hilliard as of yet. We'll see if the momentum shifts off of 2. But as right now, off of 2, looks like they stay very even with one another. But like you said, you've got now that 3rd car in line of the 2 of Todd Merkel. And actually, that 55 Dean Wilkinson, he's staying on the top side there as well. So they're saying, I think right there. Oh, no, not quite. It looked like Alberto was going to go. You see Quavi move up to try to react to that. But unfortunately did not quite pan out. You can see that little bit of a miscue there cost him about a car length on that inside line.
Yeah, and I wonder, I'm watching the 45. I'm watching the 45, and I was kind of wondering if once he cleared to 20, if he would, try to make a go at it. We've seen him in the past really good at leading a pack of cars on the top line, and it would not be very difficult for him at all to get around the 59 car if he got from Alberto Lopez.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. But I think what we saw with Todd Siebels is I think he got that lap lead he wanted early on. And so now he's just thinking big picture. I think he wants to get to that last pit stop and then be able to make that big move. towards the end of the race to try to get that win. So right now he's not worried about the extra laps led, anything like that. He's got that one bonus point. He's not going to look like he's going to be vying to try to get the most laps led, which would of course give him another bonus point. Right now, so like I said, a lot of those laps did go to Dean Wilkinson. Now, right now, Jay Hilliard's been leading a handful of laps as well. But it's actually kind of interesting deal. Right now, you get the top two cars here up front on the inside-outside line are the two cars that we've noticed that had that little bit of rear end damage. So I say whatever it is, definitely not affecting their pace right now.
Yeah, and that's very, very lucky for them. You know, it's all pretty much focused in the TV panel back there, nothing on the quarter panels. But somewhere in this field, and I'm not sure if it's one of the cars that have already retired or not, but somebody's got some pretty substantial front end damage.
Yeah, let's see if we can find it. So looking around, it's definitely not in this main pack that I can see. We'll go back and we'll jump to that second pack though. We mentioned with Michael Spell, he's working still with John Brill, and he's also got the, I believe that's the 07 Robert DuPont with him as well. As I mentioned, unfortunately, Robert at the moment is 2 laps down here. All of those cars look to be in pretty good shape. We'll go back a little bit further here to the number 60 of Joseph Morales. Say he's with Nick Manfredi. They look all right as well. So yeah, I'm not sure where the nose damage is on some of these cars. Haven't seen it yet, unfortunately. But right now everybody's kind of spread out a little bit. And I've got basically 3 groups here. Obviously, there's one big group up front, and then those 2 separate groups that we just showed a moment ago.
Might have been taken care of with a fast repair too. You know, I didn't consider that one fast repair in this league.
Yeah, it's very possible. Because something we noticed in practice where some of the drivers are just kind of testing how aggressive they can push. And, I mean, we saw where, I mean, one of the drivers actually removed that entire TV panel off the back of the car for while we were watching, and yeah, it was obviously that front car had some significant nose damage and wasn't able to suck up. So. And that's the one thing that one fast repair does do. It does open up some possibilities and some opportunities. Can kind of not ruin your race should you either have something like that happen or get caught up in something else on track there. As you see, Alberto Lopez does now get that push he needed from the 55 of Dean Wilkinson. He's going to go to the lead and say whatever that little bit of riding that Dean Wilkinson was doing, it looks like that's already over because he's starting to get a big push from that number 53 of Quabi Brooks.
Yeah, kind of impressed with how well these 2 cars are doing. I mean, it's the numbers are really stacked against them there on the bottom side, obviously, but they're doing incredibly well pushing on that top line.
Yeah, that they are. And say, while we have, before we get to the next set of pit stops, Dale, we'll run through the field here real quick, kind of try to get a running order of where everybody is. So for the moment, we'll start with our race leader. At this time, it's going to be changing lap by lap. Of course, right now it's Alberto Lopez in that number 20 car. Right now, plus 15 from his starting position. Next to him, kind of switching back and forth with him, is Dean Wilkinson in that number 55. And then in third is the 59 of Jay Hilliard. And then next to Jay is the number 53 of Quabi Brooks. Then in the 5th position, 45 of Todd Siebels. Plus 19 for Todd from his starting position. And next to him, so we got the other Todd Merkel, as well as I said, they're all starting to double up now. It's going to make my life a little tricky to make sure I catch everybody here. And next to him, you got the 03 of Kevin Hash there in the 7th position. Then you've got Charles Johnson in that 9 car in 8th. Charles, thank you for dropping back in line to make it easier for me. I know that's why he did it, Dale. And then rounding out the top 10, you've got the 6 of Bud Steele in 9th. The 7 of Dale Willoughby rounding out our top 10. And we'll keep going here through. You got the 51, the 071 of Eric Rory in the 11th position. Right behind him, the 51 of Jim Brooks. And then you've got the 420 of Dave Thatcher there in 12th. Kevin Fries in 14th. Raymond Rittenauer is in that 15th position. And then Gabe Butler, last card in this lead pack, in 16th position. Also in this group is that 3 of Bobby Hash right now, the first car 1 lap down, and in this big draft group, so that's crucial for him. And unfortunately, a few drivers out of the lead pack right now. The 88 of Michael Spell, they're significantly off the group of the leaders right now, unfortunately. Looking at the track, just about a full half lap distance between them. I'll say he's working there with John Brill in that 90 car in the 18th spot. Then you see Robert DuPont 22nd spot, 2 laps down at the moment. And then the remainder of the group here that are working together is the 19 of Joseph Morales and the 29 of Nick Manfredi. Those are the last 2 cars on the lead lap here at Talladega as we are on lap number 37 of 55. So we're just about at that halfway point of the race.
Yeah, well, you're going through that. Kawabe was able to push to 55 around the 20 of Alberto Lopez. Now he's leading the top line with Todd Merkel and the 2 machine right behind him.
Yeah, so I guess Dean decided, you know what, I like to not back out up front, so maybe just seeing what he could do and opting to say you're feeling pretty confident if you're able to kind of move back and forth, say, all right, I'm going to roll it back and then I'm going to try it again, and so that's some confidence out of that 55 machine. I say as we're very close to approaching that next set of pit stops, like we mentioned. I say last time was around lap 20 or so. I would suspect we'll see it again this time right around that lap 40 or so mark. So we'll see how these guys respond. Are they going to try to pit with that first group, or maybe try to maybe they try to jump the gun, maybe they try to kind of dictate the pace and the pit stop strategy here tonight.
Yeah, and just looking at like Dean Wilkinson, if I'm him, I want to stay out for about 5 more laps. Just in the pit strategy department. But you got guys who went early: Kevin Freeze, Raymond Rittenauer, Dave Thatcher, Gabe Butler, among others. I'm not sure how they're going to play this. They're going to have to save a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the fuel window being roughly around 20, like in the mid to low 20 range seems to be what the fuel window is. So, like you said, you have the option to say we just crossed the halfway point in this race. So, it does appear to be like it's going to be a 3-stop race. It doesn't look like anybody's opted to try to run that field number long by any means. So based on that, I would suspect we're going to, like I said, I think we'll see these guys possibly in this time. If not, I think we're going to see this lead pack will react to the drivers that pit. I think no more than 1 lap later, and then we'll see them again most likely around that lap 60 mark or so. So we'll wait and see. Right now, as you can see, everybody's starting to spread out just a little bit on the inside line, so I'm wondering if there's already a little bit of chatter. So I'm going to watch Kevin Hash because he was one of the leaders last time when they pitted, and it does not, no takers yet. So say we are going to make it here. We're going to cross lap number 40. So this run, they are going just that little bit longer, Dale, than they did this first time around.
Yeah, and as close as it's getting, if I'm Kawabe Brooks and Todd Merkel, I'm doing what I can to get to the bottom line. Kawabe's just about clearing Dean there for the lead. Maybe he'll be able to do it this time, but he's going to have to get a big push off the two.
Yeah, so like I said, it's really tough when you just got the one car with you. So the one thing that I think Kawabe did do there was he did get a lap led there at the line. But you're right, though. I mean, right now, he's been up on the top for a while now. So he's been definitely burning a lot of fuel, being now leading the group earlier, pushing to 55. So we'll see if there's a little bit of strategy. You see Alberto Lopez opening a gap here. I think he might see Kawabe slip in front of them there. And yep, there he goes. I think that's just a little bit of a thank you from Alberto for working with him as much as he did early on in the race. Unfortunately, that leaves Todd Merkel right now kind of like the not having that chair at the opening. But you see actually Alberto Lopez rolling out again there. So really, really big team player there by that 20 car, letting these guys in here, get in line here. So based on that, I'm going to say we're going to see a big group of pit stops here very, very shortly.
Yeah, and just listen to the driver radio. Todd just gave Todd Merkel in the 2 car just gave the 20 a big thank you for letting him and Kawabe in like he did. And sometimes you'll see that courtesy, and other times, coming down to the end of it, that last pit stop, it may not be so generous.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, there's kind of a time and a place for a lot of this stuff, and I say a lot of these guys, again, I mean, obviously they all want to win for themselves or for some of their friends and teammates that they race with, but when it's all said and done, they're all going to do what they can. And so here comes that first set of pit stops here, and it's going to be a switch around here. You can see everybody's hustling pretty hot here. Hopefully they get down to speed, and it looks like everybody made it in cleanly here. So you've got about the first half of this group. A little surprised, though, actually, is going to be the fact that you see the 03 here in the pits with them. I suspect that we'd see him go a little further with Kevin Hash there. And so we're kind of seeing the reverse here now, though. We've got the 7 and the 071 now. Dale Willoughby, Eric Laurie leading the way. So we're saying we've got pretty much the boot knocker team. They're going to go a little further here, but they've got one kind of an outlier, if you will, in that group of the 51 of Jim Brooks right here, kind of splitting this group up in half. So I suspect, though, this time around we will most likely see them hit pit road here.
Yeah, I almost had some contact coming off pit road between the 53 and the 20. The 53, 45, and 20 were 3 wide, and it got real tight there at the exit.
Yeah, here comes their set of pit stops. Now you can see, again, the nice stagger between all these drivers here. And saying these guys all should know where they all pitted or qualified in relation to one another. And I say, so right now we're focused on the 51 of Jim Brooks. He's got one of the earliest pit stalls, so we say that makes it easy for him. He doesn't have to worry about the guys around him. So first, I say now you see he gets into his pit stall nicely there. So while they hit their pits, we'll go back here and watch the second group that pitted, or the first group I should say that pitted. And again, Dean Wilkinson quickest in and out of the pits there, Dale. And he's like saying, look how quickly they've been able to assemble and get lined back up here. So really, really good job by those guys.
That's twice in a row that Dean's had great pit stops, and they've been able to organize basically as soon as they hit the backstretch. So good on them. And look at where they are in relationship to the second group.
Yeah, so we're watching right now. Dale Willoughby rolling out of the pits, and here comes that 55 with a big head of steam. So I say now it's going to be all about these guys got to get hooked up quickly. Oh, Dale Willoughby getting loose there, trying to keep the gas in it. Still chasing it. Now has got it gathered up. That's going to cost him a lot of time, a lot of momentum here. And it was a great job by Eric Laurie to avoid him there, but that's going to cost that group a lot of time to this lead pack. So they're going to have to really kind of work double time here to try to make sure that they can get back into this group now.
Yeah, and you look at guys who are affected by that, the one of Gabe Butler and the 87 of Raymond Rittenauer as well.
Yeah, Dave Thatcher now back into the back of the one car to try to get hooked up. And then you see Dale's actually locked onto the back of Raymond here. They're going to try to hook back up. So, and say the one guy's kind of in the middle here on his own right now. Well, I was going to say it's the two of Todd Merkel, but as I say that, he actually is able to catch that group. And so he's going to get back into that lead draft as well. And I think it looks like Eric Laurie, Kevin Freese, Jim Brooks, it looks like they should be pretty safe here. I think they're going to be able to grab onto the toe here as well. So that's going to be 2 stops down, but the money stop still left to go in this one. But yeah, just right now, I mean, it's been pretty much all Dean Wilkinson up front. These guys have, I mean, he's been running a really smooth and solid line. I think these drivers have been very content to just kind of let him be the one to kind of lead this race here. He's been doing a great job kind of controlling the pace and controlling that line.
Yeah, I'm looking. It looks like the 5 falling off the back of the 51. I think he's going to go back here and hook up with Gabe and try to drag his teammates back up to the main pack.
Yeah, and we've seen that work plenty of times. So I think, yeah, what Kevin's doing here is he's going to roll back just enough to maybe try to where he can stay in the draft, but then also allow the other guys to grab onto the back of him. So yeah, so I'd say if they can get that 3-car group locked on. I'll say look at the lap times last time by. Gabe Butler, Dave Thatcher was a 50.0 compared to 50.8, so they are significantly quicker. Raymond Rittenauer with Dale Willoughby, they ran a 50.39 to the 50.86 as well, so they also gained about 0.4 of a second as well. So it's, I say, all's not lost. They're going to have to hustle here, work really hard. But like you said, though, Gabe's just about to get to the back of Kevin Freese there in the 5-car, and with those 3, I think that'll easily get them pushed back to this group. The question mark is going to be, I think, can Raymond and Dale get to that group? Because right now it's just the 2 of them, and they've got I believe, about 2 seconds to try to make up here.
Yeah, they're turning good lap times, but once these guys, once this turns into one big group, they're going to go faster. Looking at the 55 and the 53 drop into the rear of this first pack.
And while we were watching there towards the back a little bit, we have a change for lead. Todd Siebel's taking the point. So we'll go back here. As I say, we can actually go ahead and pull the replay up here. And you see Quabi in the 53, he moves up. You see Dean Wilkinson actually does the same. So these guys just opting to go ahead and kind of roll out of it here and kind of change the front a little bit. So we saw that a little earlier. 55 rolled up to the back and was able to make that work. And I say it's starting to get busy, though, back up front again, though, because now you got John Brill, or I'm sorry, not John Brill, Todd Siebels with the 03 of Kevin Hash behind him. Sorry, I was reading on my notes. I saw John Brill had just made a pit stop. So right now, I'll say these guys right now top 8 or so running 2x2 up front here.
Yeah, and Dean, we saw him fall back earlier, stayed in the top line, just kind of got back on the gas and rode around for a little bit, and then what I would say was pretty quickly decided, nah, I'd rather lead, and drove back up to the front. So he's proven that he can do it. If I'm in his shoes now, I might get back there behind the 6 of Bud Steele and just ride around for a little bit, save some fuel.
Yeah, so this is actually the time to save. And we do need to mention Raymond Rittenauer and Dale Willoughby did catch that lead pack, so they're back into this group as well. They're a little more strung out probably than they want to be, but I'd say they're safely in the draft now. So that's job really number 1 done. But you're right, though. I mean, this is kind of the best time to save fuel, Dale, because they know they can make it on one more stop here to the end. And I mean, it's going to be the money stop. So if you can save, or maybe you can put that little bit less fuel to get to the end than your competitor, that could cycle you out in front, like we saw that 55 be able to do those last couple of people. So Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be in that position, you want to be able to try to kind of not have to take that extra, maybe half a gallon, whatever it may be, to make it to the end here.
Still battling real hard up front between the 45 and the 20. Neither line's been able to really prevail. Everybody, they're just side by side, maybe passing the lead here and there, but nobody's really gaining any big ground.
No, you're exactly right. But this is where you get a little nervous because, again, we're not sure how familiar. I mean, you don't know if some of these drivers have worked with one another. Jay Hilliard, I believe this is his first season with these guys. So has he worked with Alberto Lopez before? Like, how comfortable are they with each other? Because you can see there's a little bit of movement to that side to side motion, and that's one of those really concerning things where you just don't want to give a push to that guy at the wrong time. Because I mean, if you try to push that 20 car and you're kind of off to the left, off to the right a little bit, it's just gonna cause a big incident.
Yeah, I was getting ready to comment. It looks like they're going to single file now, but the lap cars, the leaders are approaching, or we're side by side, so it's a little bit of a concern for me. But they're going to the top in single file now.
Yeah, and that's again just the respect these guys show for one another. So that's going to be, looks like Nick Manfredi's in that group. Along with the 90 of John Brill, and then I believe that's the 60 as well as Joseph Morales. But this is where things could get a little bit dicey though now. I'm looking at the drivers a lap down right now, and actually I think this would put, I believe this puts Manfredi and Morales one lap down. But the driver that you don't see in this group with the lead pack anymore is that 3 of Bobby Hash. So unfortunately, he fell off the draft during that pit stop cycle, and still just completely off on his own here, so really unfortunate for him. And so right now, basically the fight for that lucky dog now is going to be between the 29 and the 60 car. Those two are going to be trying to be that first car one down, just in case if there's a yellow, they want to make sure they're the one that benefit from it.
Yeah, and so far, everybody's given a lot of space and been super clean and real easy on the pushes. But we've got 25 laps left, and as they tick down, the aggression's going to tick up.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's what's going to happen is, I think once we get the last pit stop in, the drivers that are in that main pack, that's going to be, depending on who's all in that group, that's going to be where the gloves really, I think, come off. Because right now, like I said, we mentioned, I mean, we've got 16 cars still in this lead pack here. And like I said, and it's within under 2 seconds of one another as well. So there's still going to be a lot to play for. And this is going to be where that strategy comes into play here. If you're in that position of, let's say, the Kevin Freeze, Gabe Butler, you can see you're rolling off the back here. You don't want to be too close to this group up front, just in case there's an incident. So right now you can see, actually, as I said, they're running 3 wide here, so that's definitely a reason to have a little bit of concern towards the front. But now the question is, do you pit, do you do the road course strategy? Do you pit once you're in your window and you know you can safely make it to the end, even with green, white, checkered? Or do you run this thing all the way out and then take just enough fuel to make it to the end? Because either way, you're going to be putting the same amount of fuel in. It's just all about when you make that pit stop. So that's going to be very intriguing as well to see what the decision is. Because if you can make a real quick pit stop here at the end, you can cycle out and stay in front of the leaders. So that way, if there is a yellow, as a big move there by Charles Johnson, just barely cleared that 45 of Todd Siebels. And you see Todd actually kind of went back to the apron a little bit, I think, just thinking there was going to be contact there. So that was a close call there. But yeah, just my question is going to be the pit strategy, though. Maybe we see the five and company, maybe those guys pit at 20 to go, or maybe we see the rest of the field here. Maybe they pit around basically once they're in that, basically once they run their fuel out, be that, let's say 10 or so laps remaining in the race.
If I'm out here, I'm going to pit when the 55 does. He's been the best on and off pit road that we've seen today. I mean, it's kind of been super impressive. That's how I'm going to make my decision. I'm going to stay behind him and wait for him to say he's going in or make his move to the bottom.
Yeah, I suspect we're going to see I think we'll see two distinct groups of pit stops. Like I said, right now, the big change, actually, something I mentioned this whole time was Dale Willoughby right on the edge of falling out of that lead draft. He's now right up in the front of this mix here, pushing that second pushing the second line of Alberto Lopez, try to get him to the front. And also in doing so, probably get himself to the front as well. And also Kevin Hash is still in this main group. So you've got kind of the Team Boot Knockers guys a little bit spread out here as Alberto Lopez does just clear the 9 car entering 1 there. He's going to take the point now. But yeah, so saying then you go further back, then you go back to pretty much Eric Laurie, who's kind of right off the back of this draft where it's all nice and calm and single file. Because as I say, it is starting to get really dicey back up front again here.
Yeah, Charles Johnson didn't want to be behind the 20. They almost took him 3 wide to the 7, decided to pushed him well clear of the 22 going into 3.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best pushes we've seen all day. That 7 easily clearing the 9 car. So we have seen at least one other time where they were able to clear 2 of the cars around. So, but now that momentum has kind of shifted back to that 7 on the outside of Dale Willoughby. Maybe Dale trying to get a lap lead in that 7 car. So we'll see as he comes out of off the trial block, as he actually clears the 9. So Dale is going to get a lap lead there in that 7 machine. And so now it's going to leave, you got Jay Hilliard with the guy we've been talking about all night long so far as that 55 of Dean Wilkinson. I'll say if you got someone behind you at this point, that 55 is definitely a nice sight to have.
Yeah, Todd Merkel's still up there, kind of, stayed dedicated to that top line and been really good up there so far this race. Coming up here going to help Dean and the 59 of Jay Hilliard out a little bit.
So we're approaching here. So now it's going to be that question mark we talked about, Dale. We're approaching that 20 to go mark. We talked about the field numbers. Looks like no takers as of yet, but I suspect we're going to see again. I think once one person reacts, I think we're going to see the rest of them again pit within that next lap or so. Because I think they've seen in previous races when they wait too long, it takes too long. And again, a great push by the 55. That's going to put Jay Hilliard back to 10 points in that 59 car. Now it's going to give Dean Wilkinson, Todd Merkel, we're going to 2 lined up top here on their own.
And what gets me about that is Dean was clear. Dean could have easily dropped down to that bottom line and just chose not to.
And yes, you wonder if that's just him being a little bit cautious before we get to that last set of pit stops, or does he just feel that good about the cars he has around him? Maybe feels good about having Todd Merkel as a pusher. You know what? I think Todd's going to be able to push me to the front as well. So yeah, I mean, we've seen some pretty big moves up. As I said, here comes a few drivers. It looks like Dale Willoughby going to lead the charge here. And it's going to be the 03, the 071, the 5, the 1, the 87. And I believe I saw Nick Manfredi in there as well. So we're going to have a big group of cars here. And this is now the teammates. They've been able to kind of separate themselves. We've seen they've always had a couple of guys with them, but this time they're going to be all together on this stop.
Yeah, and the one almost making contact with the 88 is they're trying to shuffle out these pit stops here.
Yeah, so it was a good reaction there by the one. You see the 071 already out. It looks like, though, even with that, they're all going to get lined up pretty well together here, and that's crucial, as we've talked about. So now the 5 and the 03, they got to figure out who's going to lead and who's going to fall in line. And you see they get that squared away very quickly. So now we'll jump back to the lead. Do this lead pack, do they react to them? Yep, here they come, Dale. They were wasting no time. They saw that group come in. They said, we can't risk that again. You see, close call between Charles Johnson and Todd Siebels. Looks like so far so good. Don't see any contact, but now they, of course, as we mentioned, they got to get all into their pit stalls cleanly here now.
Yeah, and one, just listen to the radio here, the 88 has to come back down for a speeding penalty. It's Michael Spell in the 88 car. But one thing I noticed is Dean, pitting from the front there. He doesn't really have anything to contend with. And I think as we see him again, quick on, quick off. What
a great pit stop for Dean Wilkinson. Almost too good, really. Look at the gap he's built over these guys. So he's going to start building up some speed here. But the problem is he's going to have no draft around him. And so you can see just starting to kind of roll into the background there. You can see that the Bootknocker team here, they're coming with a big head of steam. And this actually could be a blessing in disguise for Dean Wilkinson, because I don't know if these guys are going to get fully up to speed before that group gets to them. Dean, however, he'll definitely have a good head of steam here, so he's going to have to really hustle to try basically. He's just going to have to grab onto the back of their draft here as we're going to be coming around. Next time by is going to be 17 to go here. Yeah, still about a 20-mile-an-hour difference between Dean Wilkinson and Dale Willoughby. But I think, like you said, I think it might have been the best-case scenario for him, honestly. Yeah, so you can see he's going to start picking up a little bit of speed just from the draft on the side. Now he's going to pick up the draft as they all jump to the bottom there. Look at the choreographed push, or the drafting there from those guys. But now Dean's going to get the speed back built up. And then you can see, though, I mean, right behind him, he's going to have Todd Siebels. Todd's going to start himself as well. He's going to start building up a little bit more speed. And say if they can latch onto that 55, which I think Dean is going to be safe here, he should easily be able to hang on to the back of these guys. And so, I mean, now we're going to be coming around here. Next time by, it's going to be 16 to go. And I mean, it's going to be pretty much just an all-out brawl for the win here tonight. It looks like we're going to have 14 cars, it looks like, in this main pack. Unfortunately, Bud Steele's a little bit off the group here. However, he might have some help if he can get caught up by that 420 of Dave Thatcher, that 60 of Joseph Morales. If those guys can get hooked up and get to that 6 car, they might have a chance. But actually, now that I'm looking, Jim Brooks is just kind of lagging off the back here. He's going to have to be careful here.
Yeah, lap car getting involved and running a lot lower than we usually see lap cars. Kind of checked Dean Wilkinson and Todd Siebels up a little bit.
Yeah, you're right there. You can see, I think that was the 07, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like everybody able to get through cleanly. So now it's all about when you want to make the move and what is that move going to be. And say, are you going to be able to make it? So you see Raymond Rittenauer, he tried to be the leader of that top group, but as soon as he did that, Dean Wilkinson said, no, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna jump to that 3rd lane. So we're gonna go straight back to 3 wide here. And while we get that 3 wide, let's go ahead and we'll just listen to these guys for a lap here, as they're gonna be putting on a pretty good show for us. Back over here. I say there are a few cars that are kind of lagging off the back a little bit here, Dale. I'm a little concerned about it. Say, do you see Jim Brooks? He's kind of fallen back to kind of a bunch of Bud Steele here shortly. And the same goes for that 53 of Quabi Brooks. We've seen them towards the front, just kind of cruising at the beginning portion. But I don't know. This is going to be tight for them to be able to kind of keep up with that main draft here. So I say Jim's going to have some potential help with that 6 car. I know they'll work with one another pretty well. And I'm looking at the lap times of that 53 car. I mean, his lap times aren't bad. I say he's got a nice little view of this fight here, probably a little bit further back than he wants to be from it. But he is still just slightly faster than these guys in front of him. So I think he's just going to be able to grab that tail end of the draft. It looks like now behind Alberto Lopez. So, actually, I see you see one just caught the wall there. I think that was the 54, 59 and Jay Hilliard. That's going to cost him a lot of momentum. That's going to really help Quabi Brooks. You can see that's going to bring him right back into the thick of things here. Say for Jay, though, he needs the same thing, just needs to get right back locked in and see what he can do. But right now, I mean, we've got a great 3-wide battle for the win. That being said, though, like I said, these guys are have to realize we still got to do this for 13 more laps.
Yeah, Dean Wilkinson, I've talked about him so much today, but this is it's kind of an uncharacteristic performance for him. We don't normally see this type of aggression out of him in a race. So I really like what I'm seeing is he's up here leading the top line and really trying to make this thing work.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, it's just all about the trust that you have with the guys around you. I mean, he's got Todd Siebels behind him, and you got Charles Johnson right there as well. So there's definitely a lot of trust from these guys. And of course, then you have to trust the guys that are on the inside of you, the outside of you. I mean, so if you're Gabe Butler, Raymond Rittenauer, Eric Laurie, I mean, you're the meat in the sandwich here. You're hoping that those guys on the inside of you, that they kind of stay towards the yellow lane, that they don't wash up. The same thing that the outside line, that they don't kind of maybe risk bouncing off the wall and coming down into you. So I'm sure these guys are probably very tense right now. So this is where I definitely prefer being up in the booth and behind the wheel here, because I just say I'd be very tense right now, just death gripping the wheel while these guys battle 3 by 3.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you get a wrong push in that middle lane or that top lane, and it could be game over for most of the drivers in this league pack.
Yeah, exactly right. But the thing is, it's not over for some of these guys still. Say Jim Brooks and Bud Steele, they're back into this one. Dale, say they've been able to hook up. They're making some really good lap times right now. Ran about a second quicker than the lead pack. And also Dave Thatcher is in that group as well. So so we're going to get back to about 16 cars here in contention for the win. Although Jay Hilliard, he's really fallen off the draft. And I think whatever happened to that car has just unfortunately been getting worse. So I believe it's going to give us now 15 cars in this lead pack here, going to be battling out for the win. We're going to cross the line here. I believe it's going to bring us down to 11 laps remaining in this race here at Talladega.
Yeah, the bottom line there, you got the 7 of Dale Willoughby and the 03 of Kevin Hash. Kevin has just really pushed him hard. The middle line, Gabe Butler, Raymond Rittenauer. Raymond's really pushed him hard. Todd Siebels is doing his all, but just not able to give the big pushes like the bottom two lines.
I say, and then the question we talked about in practice with some of the drivers, and they said this thing does not give you a lot of warning before these cars start to get hot, and they get hot in a hurry. So say this is another potential concern you had is you want to lock on, you want to push as long as you can, but the thing is you do that for too long and you're going to blow a motor in front of this whole field here. So that's, and I think that might be why you see a little bit of a gap still kind of forming with these guys until I think maybe it's really feel like, okay, it's basically all or nothing, and then maybe we'll see it on that final lap as you just crossed 10 to go. Do need to mention in the chat, Chris, as always a pleasure to have you here supporting us and watching the broadcast. And then David Terry say, yeah, Todd Merkel, he's right there in the thick of things in that 2 car right now, just inside that top 10 on the inside line, and say in a very good position to be able to capitalize. Say right now he's just got to find a hole and find somewhere to be able to take that car.
Yeah, and Todd's just kind of riding for what we normally, I won't say normally, what we've seen this race. He's been very aggressive, been up there pushing the top lane. But he does understand, this is 66 to 75. He's still got plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, exactly right. And the thing is, I mean, in these races, I'm usually very tendent on running the bottom line here. Just because what's going to happen if these guys make contact, where are they all going to go, Dale? They're all going to wash up to the top of the track. So, and that's where if you're a Todd Merkel or now an Alberto Lopez, you guys maybe can just cut a left there and try to duck under them and down the apron. So there's a lot of potentials for stuff like that. But now things are going to get a little dicier. Coming up with a big head of steam here on that 88 of Michael Spell. And you see, I suspect we're going to see from Michaels, I think just with them running through wide, he'll probably drop to the apron once they get to him. But it's just always a very concerning situation for these drivers. And I think they'll probably, they're actually going to catch him mid-turn here. So this could get very dicey here. Hopefully they'll get through plainly. As you can see, that here comes Eddie. Oh, yeah, there he goes. He goes straight to the apron there. Great heads up by Michael Spell there. A lot of respect for those guys. Obviously doesn't want to give up all of his time here, but should be able to blend in safely there. So just a good job there by Michael. It's like not the night he wants to have, but is able to kind of let these guys still fight it out here now with 8 to go.
Yeah, and you could not have timed that, more perfect. I was really worried that Dale Willoughby was going to get to him mid-corner and there would be nowhere to go and check everybody up. I noticed that the 55 there leading the top line checked up a big bit as you see him actually getting a huge run now. Everybody was kind of anticipating that mid-corner meet and the consequences of such.
Yeah, I saw Dale kind of starting to creep up a little bit. It's like, hey, if I'm going to have to start moving up, I'm going to have to move up a little bit. I'm sure he was letting Gabe know as well as like, hey, I might have to drift it up half a lane or a lane or something like that. But I mean, these guys, it's been basically a three-way parade lap now for the last about 5 or so laps with these guys, and just nobody's been able to find that little bit of an edge that they need with that push. So, but now that you say that, you talk about the 45 Todd Seedles, he's starting to get a little bit more aggressive, starting to try to lock onto that back of the 55 as they work the top side here.
Yeah, and the guys under him are going to notice that, and they're going to start doing the same. I mean, they're going to do everything they can. They see Dean Wilkinson lead so much of this race. They're going to have to do everything they can to keep him back there.
Yeah, exactly right. I see another car coming out on the backstretch. That's that 59 of Jay Hilliard. Unfortunately, a little bit of that contact with wall, whatever it was, to really set his pace off as well. So we'll see if he's able to do the same. Maybe be able to just kind of roll out of it a little bit. To give these guys a little bit of room. You see, I said they think they'll catch him right around the trial, or maybe just after the trial. So I'm sure everybody's talking to one another, saying like, hey, we're coming up here, we need you to move. So we'll keep an eye on him. Yep, there he goes. We saw him just duck to the inside there on the apron there. So again, just hats off to these guys. Just gotta make sure he doesn't come up with too much speed here through the turn. And Jay's gonna do a good job of doing the same thing. So hats off there, Jay. I say, I hate that it's how it's going to end up for you here tonight, but just huge respect for what you're doing with these other guys and letting these guys fight it out these remaining now 6 laps to go.
Yeah, top line's falling about 3 or 4 cars back now, and I'm not sure if that was the same thing as before where Dean just came out of the gas to give people room to move up if they needed, but it looks like he's falling back.
I'm going to be watching 2 cars right now here, Dale. It's going to be the 6, the 9. Actually, as I said, at 55, he drops all the way to the inside line. So, yeah, that third line's completely fizzled out here as we're about to cross 5 to go. It's kind of the opposite of what I expect. I figured this would be when the third line would be really pushing here. But I think we're going to see Bud Steele, Charles Johnson. They're not going to just ride here on that middle groove here. They're going to make a big push at some point in this one. And I say those are 2 guys that are very comfortable with one another, racing with one another. So I think once Bud gets that run, you will see him peak to that third line. And they'll make another charge here to try to get to that front here.
Yeah, and a big gap there in the bottom line, and that would allow them to get a big run if they took it. But I think everything's going to be organized before anybody moves back up top.
Yeah, it is. I say everything is organized pretty well here, and I think this also might be one of those the calm before the storms, if you will, where areas kind of looks like just, well, actually no, here comes the 55 hitting pit road. Dale did the 55. Did he get too good of a pit stop? Maybe not enough fuel. He's having to put a splash potentially in. That's a heartbreaker for Dean Wilkinson. So good all race long to have to come to the pit here at 4 to go. That just hurts.
Yeah, and I'm showing his last, as far as in the box time, at 6 seconds. Gabe Butler, Kevin Hash, were 6.5 seconds. So maybe that, half a second really made the big difference.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. I say, like we talked about, he was having an awesome race. It was just a lot of fun watching him do what he was doing there. The thing is, it's not over for him. I mean, again, we don't want it. We're not going to root for it. But if there is a yellow, he is still on the lead lap. And I think they may not get to him before this race finishes under green, or if we get a caution here. And do need to mention that third line has shown up here. You see Bud Steele. He's actually now got the 45 of Todd Siebels with him. I really thought we would see Charles Johnson work that third line, but instead it's going to be the 6 and the 45. Here comes the 51 and the 88. So you can see Todd starting to get really locked onto that 6 car. 3 to go here at Talladega.
Just really, really impressed with how well everybody's done in 3 wide. You don't see it super often around here. Also impressed with Dale Willoughby's recovery after that moment coming off pit lane.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, he went from being on the edge of making the draft to losing the draft, I should say, to being in a good position to win this race. Right now, I'd say him and Gabe Butler pretty much running side by side, but here comes that 6 of Bud Steele. He's getting a good push now. And that that front 3 now are 3x3. So they were 2x2 with just the front row. As you see, the 6 rolls just a little bit off the back again. And now it's going to be, again, we'll see if they can push that momentum down the backstretch and see if they can get Bud Steele back up into this mix here. As we're at 2 to go here, a lap and a half left. So I'll say if they get to that white flag, Dale, from there, I mean, it's on to the finish.
And that's what everybody is hoping for about these front 6 cars. If they get the white flag, we'll run to the finish, and I would not be surprised to see 4 wide at the finish.
Yeah, so we could see a 4th lane pop up at the end, so they got to get through the trouble. You can see Bud Steele squeezing Raymond Rittenauer. I think that, again, the draft's starting to get that a little bit more aggressive, and we are going to take the white flag here. So right now it's anybody's guess. Dale will be on the inside, Gabe Butler in the middle, Bud Steele on the outside line. Who is going to get the win at Talladega? Will it be any of those 3? Because as I said, we never know how these things are going to end. And you can see everybody starting to push just that little bit harder, and that's where things get real dicey here.
Yeah, and they may get to this lap traffic before the finish.
Yeah, they're coming up with a pretty big head of steam right now, like I said, on that group in front of them. Right now, it's still the 7 and the 1 holding pretty solidly on the middle and bottom line, but you can see Bud Steele trying to slide draft a little bit off the 1 car, but it looks like the 1's going to get kind of power through with that push from Raymond Rittenauer. So right now, Dale will be just a nose out in front with a push from Kevin Hash. And here comes the 1 side drafting that 03 car, trying to get back to it. As they come across the line, it's going to be Dale Willoughby gets the win in that number 7 machine over, I believe, Gabe Butler. Kevin Hash going to bring a 3rd. You see, unfortunately, a little bit of contact after the finish. That's kind of just bound to happen there. Just what a job, though, by these guys. I mean, that's 3 wide racing there, Dale, for about at least 15 laps in a row. But man, just what a job by all of them. But yeah, congrats to our race winner tonight in that number 7 of Dale Willoughby.
Yeah, I mean, great recovery by that team for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the teamwork we talked about, that what they were able to do there. Just unfortunate that third line just didn't quite have that surge they needed to say. They just weren't able to quite get that push they needed to at the end. But I say when it's all said and done, though, that inside line, he was able to stay locked on with Kevin Hash. And it's going to get Dale Willoughby here a win here tonight at Talladega. think Dale's going to go for an extra lap here. Say, well, actually, it looks like he's going to loop it back around and do some celebrating that way. But I mean, yeah, just we had no idea there, Dale. I mean, it could have been. It looked like it could have been Dale or Gabe easily, and then of course we saw the big push that Bud Steele was getting on that top side. Just unfortunately, just didn't quite have the momentum and kind of that forward drive you need at the very end of these things to be able to pull off those wins. But just hats off to all the drivers there. I mean, everybody was doing everything they could, but everybody stayed respectful and kind of within the limits of what they could and probably should have done to have such an awesome finish like that tonight.
Yeah, and you know, I was really pulling for Dean Wilkinson in this. Still finishing on the lead lap, but just ran so great all race and making the right moves at the right time. Great pit stops, and then it came down to, like you said, you know, that last one was just too good of a pit stop.
Yeah, may have just been a little bit too short on the fuel. Maybe expected a little bit something different on the fuel numbers. And yeah, just want to say, maybe we'll be able to have it, not during the interview, but maybe we'll be able to find out from him later on what happened. But so for now, we're going to watch the 7 car celebrate his well-earned win tonight here at Talladega. All right, while we do that, let's go ahead and start pulling up some drivers here. We're going to start off with that 03 of Kevin Hash. I'll say he was the kind of the pusher, if you will, so I'm sure he's going to be a very happy, I should say Dale's going to be very happy with Kevin after that one tonight. So let's go ahead and pull Kevin on in here. All right, Kevin started in the 5th position, brings it home in 3rd. How are the wrists? How stiff? How sore are you guys on that one? Having to stay locked just 3 wide there for felt like probably about 10-15 laps in a row towards the end of that race.
I tell you, I was running about 1 million miles a minute, watching the relative, trying to make sure I can keep Dale up there, not overheat, make sure I'm holding a good enough line not to wreck all of my teammates. It was definitely intense.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I mentioned to Dale, I was like, man, I'm glad we're in the booth for this one versus on track, because yeah, I'd be stressing that one big. But I mean, that's something we talked about with we were kind of chatting with you guys a little bit in practice as well. You had mentioned that the temperatures, you had to be real aware of them, not to get too hot because you didn't get a lot of warning. I mean, what were you doing to try to manage that? Because obviously you want to push Gabe as much as you can, or sorry, push Dale as much as you can there to kind of keep him right in a good position. Of course, keep yourself in a good position as well, but not risk getting that oil and water temps too high.
Yeah, really, Dale was doing a great job for what room he had, leaving me room to breathe it, and just the way how he could hold it just good enough through the turns where we could keep the momentum up to where I could kind of almost breathe it through the turns and still have enough momentum. The biggest thing I was worried about was the third line getting that power move to be able to clear all of us. So anytime I started seeing them making real headway was when I really had to lock up. And I knew coming toward the end, I knew Ray was going to be pushing Gabe with all he had because, you know, he definitely wouldn't let me live it down if he managed to get by me. And even there at the line, I would push as hard as I could. I'm like, I am not letting Ray beat me because he is not going to let me live it down. But, yeah, I mean, Dale really just helped out a lot with the temps. He did everything perfect for leading, and he even took a couple shots that I was the second I hit him, I'm like, please don't wreck. I don't want to kill you here.
Yeah, man, and that's what you're talking about is like how hard you can push and still get away with it. I mean, it's stuff you got to practice and you got to learn and be able to do to be comfortable to put yourself obviously in position, and then of course to be able to hold off and get those results as well. But I mean, just hats off and say just a great job by you guys and your team. Let's say we saw this week definitely a lot of drivers kind of reacting to the strategies. We saw you, I believe it was, you kind of pitted with the other group there, at least on one of the pit stops. So was that just something that was in the plan, or was that just kind of you were in that group, so it was kind of safer for you to do that versus kind of run that extra lap or pit that lap earlier?
Yeah, they started dropping to the back just to stay safe when everything was getting a little hectic up there, and I kind of felt like I felt like I was going to be in a better position to stay up where I was, not because I don't like jumping in front of those guys if I'm the last one to drop back. So I knew either which way I was probably going to drive through the wreck if there was one. So I wanted to be right up close enough to it to where maybe I could squeeze by before the whole track got blocked. But just mainly with track position, I knew it was going to be pretty crucial here at the end. I knew when Dale had passed me there on about the same strategy, I was like, all right, well, Dale's going for it. You know, he needs a win to get into, so I'll try to be his buddy for the most part. And then, we just tried to play a little bit different. I knew everybody was still going to be all bunched up together, so I wasn't too worried about it. I knew as long as we made the final pit stop somewhat together and had all of our ducks in a row, we'd be good. So, just trying to stay on the safe side. I didn't think I could make it an extra lap with those guys where they were able to save just a little bit more fuel while I was up there trying to play around, trying to help Todd Seibels lead a couple laps up there. You know, teammate from last season. Just playing around with those guys and burned a little bit extra fuel than what they had. Didn't feel safe, so pit with them. Then just made sure at the end I got hooked up with somebody, and with me having to win, I knew once Dale was in front of me, that was going to be my guy. I was staying behind him no matter what, unless somehow he wrecked. I wasn't going to leave his back bumper.
Yeah, I mean, you guys did an awesome job. I say, and that was the thing was, like I said, I mean, Dale and Gabe neither have had a win yet this season. You and Raymond both had one kind of in the bag. Kevin Freeze as well. So you guys were kind of lined up just about perfectly to work and try to help some of your teammates to get to that position. So just hats off to all you guys. I mean, and it's like it was a lot of fun watching those final 10-15 laps. I mean, you guys were definitely dicing that pretty excitingly. Now the question though is, how much has your phone been blowing up during this interview?
Let's see. I've got about 34 notifications, so we'll go ahead and get a little spotlight on Larry Yingling. Maybe he'll start working on his interviews, so that way I can blow up his phone the same amount during his interviews. Normally his is very extended. He takes a lot of breaks for air during his thing. I don't know. I just don't think to win as much as he has, he just doesn't have that good of interview skills. So.
Well, we'll make sure we can teach him what to do with his hands during the interview, because I say sometimes he gets a little bit confused there. But I say I love the banter with you guys, with you and Larry and everybody. It's just so much fun to be a part of and be able to see it and then also join in on it as well. So before we let you go though, Kevin, definitely want to give you the floor. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that third place tonight?
First shout out, you just touched on it. I wouldn't have probably got hooked up with all these great people without Area 51 being able to race over here and get hooked up with these just awesome people. I enjoy every one of them. I consider them all friends. I'd do anything I could to help any of them out. Larry actually had a pretty good note there. He said, because I didn't take tires this whole race, he said the stripper glitter traction compound might have somehow slipped onto the tires. That was what was helping us not have to worry about tires tonight. But give Larry a little shout out for figuring that one out. But yeah, just you guys at the broadcast, the league, all my teammates, Dale, congrats to him getting the win, Gabe on second, me, Ray, Eric, Kevin Freeze, BJ, just the group goes on. We just got so many great people. I was hoping to see old dude Conrad here tonight, but hopefully we'll see him again here soon.
Yeah, it'd be great to see him. I say him and Matt Quick kind of faked us out. Looked like they were going to roll in tonight, but unfortunately neither of them made it this evening. But yeah, like I said, just awesome team effort. Like I said, looks like you guys got those top 6 positions. I say it was up in the air who was going to wind up where they're, like I said, at those final couple laps. But when it was all said and done, you guys were able to kind of do what you do best and kind of clean house there. So enjoy that one and look forward to catching you again next week, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, that is that 0-3 of Kevin Hash. Now we got to jump over to that 1 car of Gabe Butler. Let's go ahead and pull him on in here as well. All right, Gabe. So you were close there. So you had Raymond working with you, and we know you two are a pretty stout group to work with. I mean, what, if anything, I mean, what could you have done differently to try to get yourself to get that nose ahead of that 7 car when it was all said and done? Because it looked like you tried to squeeze him a little bit there coming to the checkered through the tri-oval. But I mean, just it was a great fight though between you guys those last 10-15 laps.
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, that was a blast. Ray was concentrating like you wouldn't believe. It's really tough pushing somebody when you're in that second lane there, because you got cars and you're inside, you're outside, and one in front of you, and somebody behind you, and you're just. I don't know how he did it without blowing up, but he did a fantastic job. But yeah, I tried to pinch him a little bit, but I think Kevin may have hit that bump in the tri-oval, shot his car up a little bit, so I kind of got out of it, and I didn't want to pinch again, just not to wreck. I just take the position and clean race in the points.
Yes, I mean, and that's, I mean, obviously you always want to win, but I mean, you've been, I say this was 4 races now. This is 4 top 5s for you as well. I mean, at this point, you've been one of the most consistent drivers all season long. So well, obviously I'll have to take a look at some point to see what that average finish is looking like, because I'm sure it was probably in the front half of that top 5 as well. So I mean, you've been in contention a lot of times here, and it wasn't without a little bit of drama or action, I should say, as well. Because I was saying with Dale, actually, say we saw him get real loose on the pit exit coming out of 2, I believe on the, I can't remember if it was the final stop or the second to last stop. I say definitely you guys had to check up a little bit to avoid any drama there. That had to work your way back up to the front. I mean, how much did that get a reaction out of you, where you had to avoid it and then get right back in and kind of push right back to the group again?
Yeah, I saw him spinning, and knowing Dale, I figured he'd get it under control, so he wasn't going to go too far to the right or too far to the left, and he pinned it down, which he did great doing that. But it kind of set us back a little bit, but we had to go around him, and I think Ray and Dale kind of got left behind, and I think I had Dave Thatcher with me, so we were able to get up to the pack. Once we got to the pack, it really slowed down, so they were able to catch us with relative ease, just the 2 of them. So it worked out in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great fight. Like I said, those last 10-15 laps were just completely wild, I'll say. And like you mentioned, say kind of being stuck in the middle there, you feel like, I'm sure at times you're at the mercy of both sides, making sure that they hold their lines either low enough or high enough, of course. Wasn't as terrible for you. At times you're able to sneak away from that outside line a little bit, but I mean, just how much were you having to kind of watch your sides, if you will, a little bit, to try to avoid any potential contact from either side of you?
I thought the guys in the top line that were working it, I mean, they did a really good job trying to draft a little bit, but Ray got a little bit concerned because when you're behind, you're trying to move your car to the right just a hair to cool it, and I wasn't really giving him room to do it, so he asked me to move down a little bit more in the corners, and I did, and that actually helped us draft a little bit and kept us up there and helped him cool his car a little bit. He was worried about hitting somebody on the top side there, but I mean, everybody did great. I thought it must have been a fantastic race to watch with all that 3-wide racing going on for that long. So big shout out to the drivers.
Yeah, it was definitely wild. It was a lot of fun to watch and be a part of. Like I said, I was kind of happy I was in the booth there instead of being on track, because that definitely looked very, very tense there at the end. But just awesome job tonight, Gabe, and definitely want to give you the floor, though. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that second place tonight?
Big shout out to Ray there for doing his best pushing, but just again, Team Boot Knocker there, nailing pit stops, especially that last one, the money stop. We really had a good one, and Area 51 and all the background guys there that put this on. I mean, it's an absolute blast, and as usual, I kind of go back and look at the broadcast and see what we did good and what we didn't do too good, and your analysis helps us all. So it's a shout out to you too.
So we definitely appreciate it. It's always, I was like, you make it easy for us to do this kind of stuff, as like with especially with races like that. So enjoy the result there tonight, Gabe, and look forward to catching you next week, sir.
All right.
All right, we got one person left to talk to. So Dale, we get to talk to Dale. That's going to be our race winner in that number 7 of Dale Willoughby. Man, you definitely had a moment there after the pit stops, but I mean, great recovery and work your way all the way back up there. At one point, we're watching the fields like, wait a second, Dale's right up in the thick of this thing, and then you got yourself in pretty much prime position there at the end. I mean, just take us through the kind of the recovery drive to first get back up to the draft and then figure out what you needed to do to get yourself in that kind of back in control of that lead pack.
Now, coming out of that pit stop, I knew I was in a bad spot to start with. I was just trying to watch the relative and see where the run was coming from, whether I could move up or not, and definitely timed that wrong, so that's on me. But I got a whole lot of good teammates, and they helped me get back up to the front.
Yeah, so I definitely saw a couple wobbles back and forth, but they able to get it gathered back up, and they say you were able to hook up with some guys and kind of chase your way back up there. But I mean, and then of course that last bit of the race, I mean, say we're talking to Kevin there at the end, and I mean he was telling us a lot of your guys' success for him, like temperature wise and all that, was due to you and where you were running the line. I mean, how do you manage that kind of running somewhere to help the guy behind you, but then of course still making sure you give enough room to that car to the outside of you? I mean, how difficult is that to kind of balance all those things?
It's really not that hard. You just think about what you would want if you were pushing somebody and try to run that same line. I was trying to give him plenty of room to look at the bottom, look at the yellow line, and at the same time keep that middle line pushed up the track enough where they're not going to pinch us down. And knowing the third line's coming, it's a fine line to keep. It's a fine line to keep that lane. You have to pick a spot on the track. There's no white dash line. There's no yellow line there. You just have to pick that line that you want to put your splitter on and just run that line.
Well, I mean, you definitely did that to perfection there. I say it was a great battle we saw with you guys. To say 3 wide for a good chunk of that last run there. So, I mean, just hats off. I mean, that was a lot of fun to watch and be a part of. And I'll say, obviously, importantly for you, gets you that win to lock you into the playoff Final Four race with 7 other drivers, 8 including you. So I mean, just awesome job this evening. And say, definitely want to give you the floor though if you have any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that win this evening.
You're talking about trying to figure out the line. I want to thank Gabe Butler for teaching me that line a long time ago, and thank you guys for putting this broadcast on and all y'all do. Area 51, y'all host a great league, and I want to thank Kevin Hash for the hell of a push and Freeze being behind him.
I'll say it was well earned. Enjoy it. Maybe go find some Michelob Ultra in the fridge and celebrate. And I'll say hopefully we'll catch you up front here again next week, sir.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Dale, that is our race winner in that number 7 of Dale Willoughby. And so we'll watch them come across the line here one more time, and we'll pull up our final results for the evening. But I mean, just what a finish, though. I mean, you look at the camera here, right? That we got pulled up right now. And I mean, they're all bundled up with one another. I mean, and the fact that they all, I mean, so there was a little contact at the end there, but I mean, these guys just hats off to them. That was a lot of fun. Everybody kind of going within their boundaries tonight.
Yeah, I really expected somebody to make a big move and maybe, everybody come wrecking across the finish line, but didn't happen, and they stayed, pretty much completely clean the entire race. So again, hats off for that. Not an easy feat with 3 wide racing.
No, that definitely is not. So let's go ahead and pull up that final results like we had mentioned. Getting the race win was Dale Willoughby by 0.05 of a second over Gabe Butler, 0.07 over Kevin Hash. I got Raymond Rittenauer, Eric Laurie rounding out our top 5. Actually, look at Eric Laurie, Kevin Freeze tied to the 1,000th of a second between one another, so went to the 10 of thousands to decide who got that one for that 5th position. Bud Steele in 7th, Charles Johnson 8th, Todd Merkel 9th, Todd Siebels rounds out our top 10. And then you got 11th through 18th, you got Alberto Lopez, Jim Brooks, Dave Thatcher, Quabi Brooks, Dean Wilkinson. That result does not show at all the speed and just how good of a race he had this evening. So I look forward to definitely seeing some more of that out of that 55. And a few of these drivers, unfortunately, getting trapped a lap or more down. You got Joseph Morales. Jay Hilliard was all in contention as well, just had some contact that set him back towards the end of the race as well. Nick Manfredi there in 18th. And then the remainder of the field here, you've got Robert DuPont there, 19th, Michael Spell, 18th, John Brill. Say unfortunate things kind of went downhill after just running that one lap by himself, fell off the draft, and just kind of everything kind of spiraled from there in 21st. And say similar goes for Bobby Hash. Then you got Donnie Lyons and Danny J. And unfortunately, Dude Conrad, Matt Quick did not make this evening's event. Hopefully, we'll be able to see them as well in the future races. But just hats off to all the guys. That was a lot of fun, a lot of exciting racing, and we got more of it next week. We'll be back again here at Talladega next week, so I would definitely expect some more of the same. I think all these drivers are going to kind of put a few things they learned in their back pocket, and we'll be able to see what they've got in store for us there. So Dale, as always, sir, it's always a pleasure to share the booth with you. Looking forward to next week, but I also be looking forward to broadcasting you on Thursday for the premiere series over at the new Nashville Superspeedway. That's going to be a lot of fun for these drivers. A new track that everybody's going to have to get their hands around for the first time.
Yeah, excited to be a part of that over there. Like you talk about on Thursday, run the Xfinity cars. I think we've been having some really great races and putting on some great shows. And we're getting close, man. I'm getting close. I don't know that I'll get a win like I want, but I think I'll be able to podium at least a couple times this year. It's been in the clutches for 2 weeks now, so here's hoping.
So I know one of your biggest fans is going to be that driver that's kind of been sharing that 94 with you with Maxwell Caldwell. So I'm sure he'll be rooting you on as well. So as always, Dale, a pleasure. For those of you watching, those of you chatting on YouTube with us, as always, we really greatly appreciate that. Again, want to thank you all for watching us here on Green White Checker TV. We'll be back on Tuesday for the Indy Series. But until then, hope you all have a wonderful evening and have a good night, everyone. Take care.